third one, but you use it like that's your main function. That's how you operate all the time.
All the time.
They have this thing called the TE bitch slap.
Oh, you got to tell me what that is.
Anybody who has an extroverted thinking function, which is your top function, has the ability to like hone in on the thing that's like the most sensitive part of another person. Like if somebody's coming at you and you feel threatened and you want to like tell them something, you know the exact thing to get the most impact. And the way that you are able to say it is just like
boom. I know. Yeah.
And it's deadly. It's like,
and I can hurt somebody really, like cut their feet off, like quick.
Yeah.
But I don't use that ability because I feel like, to me, that's like, if I'm taken to the next level and I'm pissed like nobody's business, then that's when I go to that point.
Yeah. It's like the final straw.
It is the final straw for me.
But they call it the TE bitch slap. And my type has that too. And we use it when we're pushed over the edge as well. But mine isn't as deadly, but it's more just like, I remember that one thing you said you were really vulnerable about that one time. And now
I will use it against you.
Well, that's because your mother didn't love you enough. You know what I mean?
Yes. No, I've done that, and I've used that against my sister because I know her really, really well, and I know the word that I could just say that one word, and she will go at me, and she will just try to kick my ass if I say that one word because I know it, and I know it, and I know Russ's word, and I know the thing that he's triggered by too, and he will just be like done with me if I say that. Yeah, like I'll know those things, but I try not to be that person. But, you know, when I was researching it for myself, you know, it was like, oh, my gosh, it is like so right on the dot because I'm very stubborn. And if I don't want something, I just don't want it. And I'm not doing it. You're not going to force me to do it. You're not going to force me to like somebody. Yeah. Like, you know, Rusk and I will have friends and I'm like, I don't like them. Yeah. And he's like, but give them a chance. But I don't like them. I'm not going out with them. And he's like, you haven't given them a chance. You just met them one time. Like, no, I know. Just takes me one time to know them. And I don't like them, honey. I'm just not going to go out with them. And he's like, you're so fucking stubborn. I thought I was stubborn. You're more stubborn than I am. And
do you know his personality?
Yeah. No, I don't know it, but he keeps telling me it's the same as mine because I went through it. He's like, it's the same. But I don't know. I would love to know. I don't think it's the same. I think he's very forgiving, and I'm not forgiving of people. Like he's an
extrovert, right?
I don't know. He has a lot of anxiety in social situations. Like he has to work himself into a social situation, but it's not if he knows the person pretty well. Right. He feels really comfortable. But if I'm taking him to like a networking event that he's never met somebody there, he will not be happy. Yeah. He was like, do I really have to be here? Do I really need to be here?
See, every time because I was thinking about this when I was listening to one of your podcasts, I was thinking that maybe he was my personality type. Because I'm the same way. I'm extroverted, but I have a lot of social anxiety. And so ESTJ is the super ego of the ENFP, right? Like if you think about Freud's id, ego, super ego. So the ESTJ personality type is what the ENFP turns into when they're in their super ego, unhealthy state, right? Which is the same for the ESTJ. But ENFPs love to read, and they read all sorts of different topics. They're very entrepreneurial. They're very philosophical. They have an amazing memory. Like if they read something, then they can just have it. They internalize it immediately. They love to travel. They absolutely love to travel. They can be very forgiving.
They are very forgiving.
But they also are all about like authenticity, being yourself, and like knowing like Absolutely. I am in my core value. And for him, like he can't do something, like you can't talk to somebody who you don't like and that's all there's to it. He can't be in a situation that makes him uncomfortable. If it makes him uncomfortable, that's assuming that's what his
and his comfort is, and that's his comfort. Yeah. You're exactly right. Yeah. To him, it's so important. Yeah. His values are strong, but you know, if he's not, but he's way more flexible than I am in terms of people. I'm not flexible in terms of people. Like if I don't like you, just don't like you, I'm not going to like you. Yeah. And you could talk to me through it and like, but give him a chance. I'm like, no, I just don't. And I'm not. And you're not going to force me to go out with these people that I don't like. Yeah. And so for us, it's always been kind of a conflict because he's more like, you can't be so hard on people. Like you've got to just let your, self, go a little bit and just don't expect so much.
Fake it either. And so
because then I would be faking it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then I would be faking a smile and faking a friendship or faking a conversation.
Yeah. And then you're just like, I can't.
I was going to interview in this place, and Russ said to me, he goes, well, don't go in there with your ego and your bitch face and telling people how they need to run their business, because that's what you tend to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you saying that? Like, I don't do that. He goes, oh, no, you do that all the time. So he goes, no, when you go in there and you talk to them at their level.
Yeah.
Talk to them as where they are and who they are, and modify yourself a little bit. Yeah. I came home so angry at him because I said to him, you told me I need to, and I hate it that I have to modify myself, that I can't be who I really am.
Yeah.
And he's like, who you really are? Is that somebody they want to know?
Well, they're not my people.
Yeah. He was like, okay, so let's get started on the podcast. I mean, we've been recording anyways, because I wanted to record all this stuff anyways, because it's always good stuff anyways. But let's start from the beginning. Happy day, my fabulous vibers. Welcome back to my podcast, where I believe every woman deserves the freedom to craft the life she wants and the guts to go after it. We will share stories, facts, and opinions on various aspects of life to give you that kick in the ass to light you up and spread killer vibes every day, 24/7.
Him, because it helps me to understand him so much better. Mm-hmm. He's super introverted. Mm-hmm. Like one of the most introverted introverts. Mm-hmm. Poor thing. He has a hard time connecting with others, making friends, things like that, because he's super into himself. Not into himself, but introverted.
No, yeah.
And then he has extroverted intuition as well. So lots of big ideas. He's very philosophical. He'll get in the car and be like, what do you think about? And then he has some wild idea to the point where I'm even holy crap, what are you talking about? Why are you thinking about this stuff? He loves to debate. That's one of the things about his function or his personality type, is that he loves to debate. And so he'll try to pull me into these arguments sometimes. And I'm like, I know what you're doing. Before I would get into it with him because I didn't quite understand. I thought he's really trying to have an argument with me, but now I know he just debates for fun because he likes to take things apart. Yeah. And so I'm I'm not going there with you. You're not going to pull me into one of your little shenanigans,
She told me she's an INFJ.
Ooh, an INFJ. I love INFJs. That's fun.
What is that? I need to find what that
is. So INFJs and ENFPs are one of the most compatible personality types for friends.
Oh, that would be your buddy.
Yeah. Great friends. INFJs have they have extroverted feeling. So INFJs have extroverted feeling, introverted intuition, extroverted feeling, introverted thinking, and extroverted sensing are their cognitive functions. They are also sort of philosophical. They're one of the most extroverted of the introverted types because they do really like people and they like being around people, but they burn out very quickly in their energy. So they do like to hide and be very introverted themselves. And they are feelers. They're very giving, very thoughtful of others, very considerate of others. But INFJs have a really fun, maybe not so fun function called the INFJ door slam. So
door slam,
Yeah, so if an INFJ decides, and they're very decisive, if they decide that you are not worth their time, they will energetically slam the door in your face and you will not be able to get to them anymore. When they're done with you, they're done. They cut you, that's it. Right? Sort of like your type where you just decide I don't like them. I've decided that you are no longer worth valuing as an existent. And they'll slam the door on you.
Wow. Yeah. And that makes sense because, I mean, you know, she's like, I would just be happy if I could just work from home and I could just do writing and I could just be creative. And that just makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But in the way that I direct her in doing things, it's changed for me. Yeah. I used to be a little more hard with her and I just sort of backed off a little bit and been like,
she wants to make you happy.
She does, and she does so well. But for me, I'm like all about timelines. Yeah. I'm all about like it better be ready at this time. And if I ask for something, I need it done like now. Mm-hmm. And they take their time, they research, and she's very much like that. Like she, you know, and so I think for us, I have to learn if I'm her employer, like how to give her direction in a way that's best for her and that works better for her type and her mentality and how she works. Because she's such a gifted writer, but I don't want to be so hard because I can be. I'm very hard on myself and I can be hard on people. Yeah. Then I'm going to keep her from glowing and growing and being her best self because I can be a little bit too hard and strict and tough.
And one of the things that you might want to pay attention to with her in terms of valuing her strengths is that she has an ability to see sort of further into the future than you do. So that might be something that you kind of
She's way more visionary than I am.
INFJs are way visionary. They have the ability to see a situation further out. And so to find like the best way to get there, right? And so you can value that about her and then let her know, like with words of affirmation, right? Like let her know how you feel and what you're thinking and how you view how she's working, because that's just going to like spur her to do more and more and more. Because extroverted feelers, like they really thrive off of making the people in their lives happy and knowing that they're doing a really good job. And then that just gives them more energy and more motivation to do more and do better.
Yeah. Yeah, I discovered that when I do a lot of positive reinforcement for her, that it works really, really, really well.
Yeah, criticism is one of the things that will shut an INFJ down really fast. Like criticism, they take it very personally and they like lock themselves into it almost to where it's like they become like, oh shit, that is me, right? Like they're already so worried about not being a good person or not doing well that if they get harsh criticism, then they just internalize it and it just shuts them down.
And then shuts them down. Yeah. That is so good to know. Yeah. That is so good to know because sometimes I do have to stop myself from being too strict. And I figured, some people, and then I kept saying, well, they're just millennials. Millennials are just so sensitive and so hypersensitive, but there's a lot more to it than just being a millennial. For sure. And being the fact that I'm a Gen Xer and I'm like, okay, I see things in a very specific kind of way. Yeah. You've got to see things in their way and their viewpoint. And it really does make a little bit of a difference in the way that I'm changing my approach.
That's good.
Towards people and people that I hire and just not being so headstrong about it.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important for you too to hire people that work well with your strengths, right? Like you know that you can be sort of a disciplinarian when it comes to like getting things done. Like you have parameters, you have deadlines, and because you are so strict on yourselves, you have very high standards for the people that work with you. If they are people who can't meet deadlines or who don't work well under that kind of direction, then they're not going to be good for you no matter what, right? Because you're not going to be able to lead them in a way that motivates them, and they're not going to be able to provide you with the kind of work that you want to see.
That I want to see, yeah.
Yeah, and so then it's just a bad kind of like interaction.
But you don't think that there's a way for her or I to modify our behaviors based on who we are and how we see things?
I think so. I don't think that we're so rigid in who we are that we can't learn or be different, but we have, it's sort of the difference between swimming with the current and swimming against it. You can swim against the current and get to the destination, but you're going to be more tired when you get there, and it's going to be harder in general. And against as opposed to swimming with the current, is you're going with the natural flow of how you naturally operate, and you're going to get there that much faster with less energy expended. Which is why when you spend time with some people, like if you're forced to spend time with people who you don't naturally align with, you're going to feel like your energy is drained. Like you've had to try that much harder.
You're so correct on that one. So correct.
To have, like, they're talking about stuff that you don't really give a shit about, and they try and talk about stuff, and then they don't really know like how to keep the conversation going, and so then it feels strained, and you're like, this is boring. I don't want to be here anymore.
No, and it's true because sometimes you're working with either a client, a customer, or an employee, and you're like, oh my God, I can't.
The communication
I'm done. I can't. I just can't. And no matter how hard I try to modify things and change things around.
Yeah. And it just doesn't work.
And that's the thing I was telling Russ the other day. I said, you know, when I finally decide to go get a job, or if I want to do a job or whatever I do, I have to be super, super cognizant of the idea that I can't do something where I'm working for somebody.
Yeah.
Because honestly, Victoria, I'm always telling people how they need to do their job.
Yeah.
And I can't help it. Like, he will say to me, don't go in there walking and tell people what they need to do and how they need to change it. Yeah. I can't help it. I'm like, I see what you're doing. You need to change it. You need to do this.
Yeah.
But it's always about the strategy. Like I told him, if we were in a restaurant, you would be the front of the house. I would be the back of the house. Yeah. I'm over here telling the chef and telling the cooks how they need to do things. He's over there talking to clients.
Yeah.
Because even when we go and talk to clients, like he goes and he talks to them. Because if I talk to them, I'm like a bullet point. Like I need this, 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 and this. He's like, okay, like be nice, smile, and just
that's not efficient.
Greet people. I'm like, no, I need them to know this, and this. Like we're working with a few people right now, and he's like, I'm going to send you to go and pick up all the stuff because you've got a list and you know what we need. And I'm like, yeah, send me to do that stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, and I'm going to come and talk to this person because I need to. I need to talk to them.
Maintain that relationship.
But that's something that he gained a really good a good aspect, because where he used to work, he had to deal with people who were very intense, very opinionated, and he managed his personality around people. I can't. Like I'm the same person a lot of times with everybody.
Yeah. And there are going to be people who can sort of deal with that or value it.
And there's people that just cannot.
And they're just going to be rubbed the wrong way. And I think that happens for a lot of women who are more of what is perceived to be a masculine type of energy. I think if we knew more about these types of things like MBTI and personality typing in general, we would see that while it's not super common for women to be, your type is probably not a very common type, it's valuable, right? Like we need women who are in positions of power, who can lead and who are decisive. And we have women who do that, but societally we're put into these roles where we're supposed to be caretakers and nurturing and all these things. But, and so when we see women like you who are very decisive and who are, that way, we have this mentality of like, oh, well, she's a bitch, right? Resting bitch face or whatever it is. But really the case is that we're not used to seeing women own those parts of their personalities and play into those strengths, because we're told that we're supposed to be nice and we're supposed to
play nice.
But really,
go with the flow.
But if you were a man, nobody would be telling you to smile. No,
nobody's telling you to be nice or be kind or, keep, smile a little bit more.
Right. Which is why for some men who are on the personality spectrum a little bit more sensitive and more into their feelings,
they're seen as pussies.
They're seen as pussies, or they're seen as betas, or they're emasculate or whatever it is. And it's like, well, no, really anybody can have these traits and be, this way or that way. We need to start normalizing the fact that humans in general are a variety of things, and to value that just as much in our women as we do,
And can we talk a little bit about how women are looking for alpha males and what that means? God. Because that was a conversation you and I had.
That started all of this?
That started this whole thing, because I'm like, what the fuck is an alpha male? Like, what are you talking about? Like, is this what it really means? Is this what they think an alpha male is? I mean, I was just like so amazed at some of the things what these girls were saying, like lower yourself, make yourself into a submissive woman.
Make sure they're happy.
Make sure you give them blowjobs all the time. If you're not the
reason that they're ejaculating 3 times a week, then you're not doing your job.
You're not doing your job.
I'm sorry. When did that become my job? I didn't.
But where did these girls get this information from? Because did they even interview? I mean, did you create like a focus group? Did you go and create a focus group and create like a what is it called? Like a group of a controlled group and then like a focus group? Like where was the research? Because I don't think these guys like this shit.
Well, the funny thing is I think that over time, societally, we've lived in a patriarchal society. And because of the prevalence of certain personalities over others, right? Like certain personality types are more common than others. We have this not only patriarchal society, but we have a society that is largely governed by personality types that value sort of like this power dynamic, right? Like power and submission. And so not only do we have the patriarchy, power and submission, but we also have like how you're supposed to behave as a woman and how you're supposed to behave as a man and all these things. And I think that for a lot of people, because that is the way that society has dictated for so long, they're not progressive type people by nature, right? They're not the kind of personality type to have vision or to naturally like rebel the status quo. And so not only are they maintaining the status quo, but they're also digging that much deeper into it as a philosophy for relationships, right? Like they still believe, and this is, I don't know if this is a large faction of people, but for those people who believe in this alpha male, like submissive female trope, they still believe that the men are the ones who rule and they're the ones who dictate and the men of the house, and that their only goal is to make lots of money and to provide for their families and to have, propagate their seed, and that women are there to be subservient to them
and just support
them.
Characters in their life,
right? And to be like part of the home, and that's what they're there to raise the babies. And for these men who believe that to be an alpha male is the thing that women want, they also believe that women who don't say, for independent women who don't want an alpha male are just fools. They're deluding themselves. That really, if we got out of our ego, that we would admit to ourselves that these are the kind of men that we really want. And I'm like, have you watched any movies lately? Like, these are not the things that women really want. Like, I'm okay. Not only am I a female, but I'm also a female entrepreneur. Almost every person in my vast network of people are women. And I don't know a single woman who believes that this is the way that men should behave and that this is what women want out of men. And so it shocks me to hear men talk in this way and to think that they, that this, and then I'm
that this is how they should be.
And then I'm going into these men's profiles because I'm like, who are these people who believe this way? And they're like single and they don't even have wives or girlfriends. And I'm like, do you even know any women? Have you asked them?
So when this particular girl pointed this out, and this is like how she keeps an alpha male happy and how she. And I'm like, is she married? Does she have that? Because if she is giving you guys all these tips, she must have it down. Yeah. Truly, she must be, married to one of these guys. And then I find out that she's not. And I'm like, then why are you giving advice on something that you don't really have a good grasp on? Or like, like you're living with this guy, this alpha male that you're talking about? Like there's things that I think that are super important in like men that I find attractive. Like I find attractive like decisiveness, strength, competence. Somebody who's always learning, somebody who's like very secure in himself. Like there's things about men that I find very attractive. Yeah. I don't know necessarily that that's an alpha male thing. I don't know that that's necessarily just a male thing. I don't know if that's necessarily just who they are. Like I call my husband a Renaissance man. I said, you're like our typical Renaissance man. You're into wine. You're into literature. You love art. Like there's travel. Like there's things about him that you would look at him and he looks like a MAGA guy. Yeah. Like if he was to put like a MAGA hat on, you're like, oh my God, you look just like a MAGA. And because everybody tells him that like, Russ, like what kind of like car do you drive? You drive a truck? Like he looks so white, so MAGA type, big beard, very white, big, but he's everything but a MAGA type. Like he's such a Renaissance man. But when you talk to him, he has such a big heart. He has such an understanding for women. Like, I have meltdowns with him and he just brings me down every single time. But this is 20 years of being with someone that is very dramatic. Yeah. Even when I don't have to be, I become very dramatic. Like a girl looks at him or we were at the dealership the other day and this super cute Kim Kardashian type girl. Yeah. And I was there with him and I just kept my eye on her because I'm like, oh, I love this. I wonder why she's here at this dealership, this particular dealership, because it's a BMW. It was like a luxury section. I'm like, okay. And I'm just like standing there with my headphones on. I'm like just paying attention. I just want to see the interaction of this girl because I don't think she knew that his wife was around. Right. Because I got out of the car before she came around and I went in and I stood by the wall. And I just kind of stood by there and I'm just like observing. And I'm like, I want to see. And then I'm also observing him to see what his reaction, because this girl was super cute. Yeah. But she had the total Kardashian body. So like fucking gorgeous. Snatched. And the big back. Oh, the big booty, snatched, the hair, the makeup, everything was perfect. And we were on our way to the gym. So I was looking shitty. I was looking makeup-less. Yeah. I'm going to the gym. But I wanted to make this observation, but I don't keep my mouth shut. The minute I get to the fucking gym, I'm like, oh, I saw the whole interaction. I said, what do you think this girl is? I'm like, let me have your phone. Like, is she texting you already? Like, I'm like such a bitch because I know what's going on. I know why these women work in these places. Yeah. Because they're looking for a guy and they don't give a shit they're married, by the way. They don't. Yeah. Most of them don't even care. Yeah. They just want to know that they can do this and they can get away with it. But that goes back to our personality. And my personality says, that person is just super upfront about everything. Yeah. And I'm very upfront. Like, I'm not going to let 30 minutes go to waste if I can't have the conversation with them. Like, I'm not comfortable with her texting you. Yeah. I don't like it that she'll text you when your car is ready. And like, if she does, I need to know when it's ready. I need to know everything that's going on. Why? Because I've been married 20 years and I'm super protective of the people that I'm around. I'm super protective of my family, especially my husband. Yeah. Yeah. Because I know how lucky I am to have him in my life because this is somebody that I've just, let's say, nurtured a whole family, a whole life with for 20 years. And I'm like,
well, and I think you can see too how easy it is.
So easy.
For other people to sort of like get in the middle of things, I mean, I watched one of my best friends sort of go through divorce and not through infidelity or anything like that, but even still like a 15-year marriage. And and I think that you're not wrong for protecting your marriage in that way. I will ask though, like, what about trust?
It's there, but I don't trust that the women won't get into.
And you think like Rusk is just too nice to not like turn him like, put him down or turn him away? Or
no, I don't think that he's too nice. I think he just won't see it as somebody's coming on to them.
Right. He's not going to see it the way.
No, he's not going to see it as somebody's coming on. And I told him, I said, they start off by asking questions about you. Yeah. They start asking questions about, your business, what you do, flirting.
But he's
being very coy, and it's very friendly to him because he's so not used to that. Yeah. He's just not used to that. Yeah. But in my mind, I see it. I read it, and I can tell. Yeah. And I observe the women and how they behave around the guys. Yeah. And I had the opportunity to step back from this situation and look from it from the outside in. Yeah. The way they stand, how close they get, how they play with their hair, and then they look up in their eye with their little cute little eyes. Like, I see it. I see the whole thing. But I'm very clear when I come home, I'm like, okay, she better not be on your phone ever again. Like, if she's texting you about your car, that's all it's going to be about. Like,
see, and that's where you and me are different.
And Victoria, I saw myself in this ESTJ thing. That was exactly who I was. They're like, you are just going to say exactly how you feel and you don't care. Yeah. You just say it.
But that's so valuable, though. And that's something I've always loved about you is because you don't pull any punches. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Like, I appreciate that so much because with so many people, especially for me, I am reading body language and parsing verbiage and listening to tone and facial expression. And I am making judgments about other people's credibility or their trustworthiness based on all of these things that I'm perceiving, and sort of like, okay, well, can I trust them, or are they safe? And can I trust myself and my perception of them? Like, if I think somebody's full of shit, are they really full of shit, or am I somehow triggered by them? Like, I think of a lot of those things, right? With you, from the very beginning, you've always been so straight up that I'm like, I know what I'm getting with Alicia all of the time. And I value it so much that, you don't have to soften yourself so much to worry about if you're going to hurt my feelings or not. Like, I take you for face
and I remember in that
right?
first email I sent you, I said, I'm a control freak. Yeah. And if you're going to struggle with that, I just want you to know that I'm not stepping on your toes, and I don't want to step on your toes, but I am a control freak. Yeah. I do like controlling every situation. Yeah.
And for me, I was like, cool, like, you tell me what you want, and that allows me to execute. And so that, I think, has been such a core function of our relationship, and valuing your personality and valuing the benefits that it gives me and my personality. I don't have to guess. I don't have to wonder. You're very much like, who you are is who you are. And I'm like, oh God, can I have more people like that in my life who are just on the face who they are? And that just makes things so much easier, because when people are sort of wishy one way with you and one way at a different time, and then I'm just like, okay, well, who's the real you? Like, what am I really
right?
saying?
Who is the real you? Yeah. And I told you, I mentioned that other person, I don't want to say her name, but that other person was at the other spectrum. Right. And so whenever I used to step on her toes, she would never say anything. Yeah. And then it would come out months later, like, I didn't like that. Like, why didn't you say that? Yeah. You should have said that from the beginning. I would have never stepped on your toes. I would have been like, okay, I'm out the picture. Because I do tend to take control of situations. Like, I don't take control of the situation. I need to take control of the situation. Okay, fine. Yeah. I'm out. But I think in a relationship, that's why I always say, if I was to get divorced, I don't think I would ever be in another relationship, because it's very hard for me to trust anybody at the level that I need the trust to be in. Yeah. And honestly, even though I've been in a relationship for 20 years and I feel confident in that relationship, I'm never, like, my mind is never down. Right. Never like, oh, it's comfy. Never comfy. Wow. I'm always on the lookout. I'm always like, my mind is always like, oh, somebody's got an ulterior motive. Oh, somebody wants, this or somebody, all the time, Victoria.
So your third function. And so what's interesting about cognitive functions is that they improve over time. Like, your strength is in your primary function. And then as you get older into adolescence, then your secondary function starts to come into play. And as you get older, your other functions start to be more developed, right? Yeah. So your third function is extroverted intuition, which is my primary function. And that's the function that sees all of the things, right? So you have the ability to see all of the things that are in front of you and be like, okay, well, here's all of the things that I see. And then you're using your extroverted thinking and your introverted sensing, which is like your memory bank and your past experience, to say like, okay, I've seen all of this, and now I remember that when all of these, each of these things have a place in my memory and how they went. And then that first function is like putting all the little pieces together and making it into a line. And you're like, I know that if this happens, then this is going to happen, and that's going to happen. And it's not so much that you maybe don't trust Russ or what he would do, but because from experience and from your, from all of the things that you can see, how that woman is going to behave and what that means that she's behaving that way, and how that she's going to continue to try and play into that situation. You've seen into the future in a way that's sort of like, okay, I've already played out this situation, and if this woman starts texting me more than just about your car, then I already know what she's about. Right?
Exactly.
And so you're trying to cut that before it even goes anywhere.
Exactly. You're totally on the money. Yeah. Because there's no infidelity in my life ever. And even in my dad and my mother's life. My dad has been with my mom for 47 years almost. And there's never been that situation. So there's nothing like a background, like, it's in the back of my mind. Nothing like that. I think for me, number one, I'm super protective of the people that I love.
Yeah.
And I'm just, I'm just never going to play games.
Yeah.
I hate playing games, and I'm super direct. And Russ knows this about me. And like, he will tell, like the other day, these girls at the gym were like, let's take a photo. And he goes, I can't take a photo. If my wife sees this photo on the Instagram, she will flip out. Because why am I taking a photo with all these girls? You don't know my wife. And the girls were like, but it's just a photo. They're like, no, she doesn't see it as just a photo. So immediately he came home and he goes, hey, I took a picture with these girls. Yeah. And if it shows up, that's what happened. I told them that, you would get upset if I took the picture, but I told them I will talk to you about it. Like, he has to go through this. But honestly, Victoria, it's because I'm just such a protector, not because I'm insecure about it, but I just protect them and protect him and protect my kids. Yeah. Even if he has friends that are shitty to him, I'm like, send them to hell. Yeah. They're shitty to you. Why are you even there with them? Why are you even entertaining that? Yeah.
Which is so funny, because that's so for me, on that note, we're opposite in that way. I have been in relationships with a lot of mistrust and possessiveness and sort of insecurity and this constant, like, what are you doing? Where are you going? who was that person? Why were they talking to you? Sort of vibe. And after I got out of that relationship, I did a whole 180 where now, like for instance, my boyfriend was telling me last night he did a pop-up market at Axelrad on Wednesday. Okay. Last night. And so he called me when he got home. He's telling me this whole story about how the booth next to him, there was a mom and daughter and they sold jewelry and they were talking, chatting and this and that. And I was like, oh, was she cute? And he was like, she had a style. Like, I could tell he was sort of like tiptoeing.
Like, he didn't know what to answer.
Like, he didn't know what to say, sort of, because, he's still trying, like, we're still learning each other, so he doesn't. But me, I was like, oh, but is she cute? You know what I mean? Like, were you flirting? That's cute. Because if it was me and I saw a girl flirting with my guy, to me, it would confirm that I was with a good-looking guy, and I would not only not feel threatened, but I would just I would slink over and introduce myself to her and be like, hey, or I'd be like, text him later or talk to him later and be like, so she was cute, huh? You like that? Like, to me, it's sort of like the opposite of like, you can look at whoever you want. You can talk to whoever you want. You can flirt. I'm going to watch. That's cute. You're hot. This girl likes you. You're flirting. That's adorable. But at the end of the day, it's like, hello. Like, you're not, you know what I mean? Like, there's no reason for you to be interested in anybody else. And so to me, it's more like a game. And yeah. But that's why I ask, like, about trust, because, I am in a new relationship with somebody. Like, I'm learning his personality. I'm learning, like, who he is, and he's learning mine. But one of those things that I don't want to be a part of is sort of like the insecurity and the mistrust and all that.
No, and you don't want that. No. You don't want that.
Because I feel like with transparency, like, if I am super transparent about the things that I do in my life and I give him room to be transparent in his, then I'm not giving him reason to, like, you have a 20-year marriage, right? Like, there's no reason for you to believe that Russ would hide things or lie to you. No. But in a new relationship, for me, I'm like, well, shit, like, I don't want you to think that I'm a jealous type person. So I want to make sure that like, you can tell me if you thought she was cute.
But what if he finds out that you are the jealous, or that you are the protective type and you are the possessive type? Are you thinking that he's going to run off if he finds out that about you?
No, but I think, in the relationship that I had before that was super jealousy and possessive-y, what it created was more lies. My ex-husband was the kind of person who I was like, he lies about everything. Why would he lie about this? Why would he, like, I would find receipts for things that he would buy or money that he had or whatever, and he'd be like, why are you lying about this? I don't understand. And his response, well, I didn't want you to get mad. I didn't want to tell you because I didn't like how you would react. I didn't want to deal with whatever.
So he was keeping things from you so that you wouldn't, so he wouldn't see your reaction.
And not only are we not transparent, but we're also not, like, giving each other space to have their honest feelings, right? Because he's not lying to me because he, is trying to be distrustworthy. Right. He's lying to me because he doesn't want to face whatever my reaction is going to be. And so that's something I definitely try to mitigate in my relationships now, of like, tell me whatever you want to tell me. Tell me even if you think that girl was hot, or tell me whatever, because I want to prove to you that I'm adult enough to handle that, and that we can talk about it and move forward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't necessarily mean like you just go and flirt with whoever you want all day long and, you know, like do things that I would not be comfortable with. Like, we still have standards of our relationship that need to be upheld and boundaries that we establish as part of our relationship. But I don't want him, like, for instance, if I was the jealous type, he might not have even told me about the booth next to him, right? Or the girl that was there.
He wouldn't even mention it. He wouldn't even say it. Yeah.
So then next week on a Wednesday, when I happen to not have my daughter and I know he's at the market, I'm going to go up and say hi to him and surprise him. But here he is talking to some girl at the next booth and being like friendly with her. And all of a sudden I'm like, who the fuck is this bitch?
Yeah.
And then it creates like a drama that I'm like, we didn't even need to have all that.
Yeah.
You know
you don't even have
like,
to. Yeah.
For me, I'm mitigating that, especially because I'm not in a 20-year marriage, right? And he doesn't know my drama. So
right. No, so it's so interesting that you mentioned that, because, you know, from the beginning, I was so honest with him about who I was and what I didn't like and what I was like and what
your boundaries
all the time.
Yeah.
And so that's why now he's like, I'm going to tell you straight up. I was at the gym and these girls want to take a picture and I took the photo and there was nothing crazy, but I know that if you see the photo for some reason, you're going to go crazy.
Yeah.
It's not like that. But like, he knows that about me now.
Yeah.
But it's not because he's ever given me an indication. I think for me, it's just I'm so protective of him and what we have.
Yeah. As you should be, I think.
Yeah, like, I don't know if I'm just nutty or crazy or just cuckoo. I don't know, but that's just... it's not insecurity, because he's never given me a reason to be insecure and a reason for me to not feel good about my relationship. It's just a sense of me being protective of my...
Well, I think for you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is just what I see. I think for you, it's almost like that reassurance. Like, you know that you can be that way with him and that he's going to respond to that by reassuring you that there's nothing to worry about.
Right.
And it's not so much that you think there is something to worry about, but just having that reconnection and that reassurance is valuable in your marriage. You know, for me, that reassurance comes in different ways. Like, I'm not so much needing that kind of reassurance when it comes to like maybe other women, but I am in terms of like being vulnerable with my story, right? Like, it's really hard for me to open up to people that I'm in an intimate relationship with about my past. And so I'll do that in very small ways in the beginning, like letting people in slowly and seeing how they react and allowing that moment to like reassure me whether it's okay to go further. And as I build long-term relationships, like with good friends or people who've known me years and years and years, like, I'm very open and very transparent about like my shit, right? Like the stuff that I really like dislike maybe about myself in the past. And I can say it in a way that's sort of like flippant, because I know that the person on the other side knows me well enough not to kind of like react to this weird sort of self-disclosure or whatever, right? And for me, that reassurance is reminding me that I'm okay, that they still love me in spite of my damage, right? And in my long-term relationships and my 20-year friendships, if I tell like my best friend, like, I feel really stupid right now because of this thing I did, I'm looking for them to say, well, you're not stupid. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. And it's not so much that I need that necessarily, but that's how you function in a relationship, right?
That's just a function of who you are.
And they meet your vulnerability with reassurance that you might be a little crazy about this and a little irrational, but that's okay, because I love
you. Know, it goes back to that quote where they say, you don't deserve me at my best if you can't handle me at my worst. Correct. It's so true.
It is true.
It is so true. That's like a Marilyn Monroe thing, that like a quote that I read somewhere, because I remember mentioning to him sometimes, I'm like, you know, I'm so dramatic right now. I feel hormonal. I feel cray-cray, but you handle me right now. Yeah. And that means you can handle me right now. Then you can handle me at my best, when I'm happy, when I'm joyful, when I'm relaxed. I'm not so crazy. I'm not such a maniac about something.
My boyfriend has not seen my crazy side yet. He has not gotten to experience like Victoria at her absolute lowest, like sort of like doom and gloom experience yet. And he hasn't needed to, like none of that has come up yet. And so we're kind of living in this very sweet little.
Are you afraid of showing that side of you because you think that they'll run away if they see that part of you? They're like, oh, I can't. I just can't. Yes. And so how do you push through that? Because if you're going to have a true relationship, that person's going to have to see you at the depths and at the rises.
Yeah. I don't know. In this relationship, it's a little bit different because he specifically does not trigger me. And so it hasn't come into play in terms of him and I, right? Which is usually how it's happened in the past. So I am like very comfortable where we're at now. And I mean, I get scared of that in every relationship because I have been told in the past, you're too much, you're too emotional, you talk too much, you cry too much, whatever it is, which obviously doesn't help me feel better. You don't say that, you know.
But that was what you were to those people, though.
Exactly.
For another person, you're not too much emotional. You're just so emotional as a woman is.
And I think that a lot of the work that I've done this year is sort of like coming to, and with MBTI too, like just bringing it back around to the topic, like understanding who I am as a person and knowing all of the ways that I can be, whether they're positive or negative, helps me to express to the people that I'm with what I need, right? Like if I'm having a really shitty emotional time, I know that I have the power to say, this is how I'm feeling and this is what I need from you in this moment, right? As opposed to just like all over that.
Yeah.
You know, I have the ability to kind of work around that. But in relationships, it is hard because you want to know that your partner is emotionally safe, that you can be emotional with them and that they will hold space for you, that they are psychologically safe. They're not going to shame you or dismiss you or invalidate your experience, and that they're physically safe, that what you're experiencing isn't going to trigger them in a way that creates a violent situation. Right? And that can be difficult. I think a lot of women are very self-conscious of their worst nature because they have been exposed to men who do not know how to hold space for them and meet them there with vulnerability and empathy and compassion. I don't think that the person that I'm with now is going to be a liability in that way. I think he has already I've seen a lot of emotional intelligence in him that gives me a lot of safety. I don't want to take it there before it has to go there, right? And we haven't experienced that yet. But I am curious about how he'll kind of handle it when I devolve into a puddle.
And by the way, he will devolve into a puddle himself one day. And so how do you approach those conversations and how do you approach that situation yourself? Because honestly, it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
We're not the only drama queens. A lot of times they're the drama queens.
Agreed.
And so how do we approach that conversation and how do we handle that and how do we continue the relationship in a way where it's constructive for both of us and constructive for each other? You know, and I think it's something that we don't think about. I think as women, we're like, oh, can he handle my drama? Can he handle me and my crazy moods? Can we handle them?
Yeah.
And can we deal with when they have those things? Yeah, they don't have hormones every month going nuts, but they have other stuff. You know, work stuff, work-related stuff. It's a lot of stuff that goes on with, you know, their jobs. And men are very oriented towards money and oriented towards, you know, success. Job security. Things that women think about as well. But for us, there's always a whole other component to it, you know.
Well, I think one of the things that I think about a lot is what Brene Brown said about men on their white horse. You know, she talked about a person in the audience who came up to her and she said, you know, he said, it's real easy for you to tell men that they're allowed to be vulnerable, but my wife and my daughter would rather see me, you know, die on that horse than to see me cry. or be vulnerable. And I think that for women, it's really important for us to learn how to make space for the men in our lives to be emotionally vulnerable, to allow them space to cry about what they're going through, or to have the emotional experience that they're going through, because they need that validation as much as we do, if not more, because they don't get it from anywhere else. They're not allowed to be vulnerable in the workplace.
And guess what? As mothers, we have to raise boys to be vulnerable and to be emotional.
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing I tell my boys. I'm like, if you need to cry, you need to cry. You got to let it out.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to me in this, in strength in you holding anything in. If you're angry about something, you talk about it. Yeah. There's a way for you to function after that. If you're sad, you're entitled to be sad. If you want to cry about something because it upset you, you're entitled. You're okay to cry.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of guys were raised to, to hold things in. Like, don't be a little bitch. Don't be a little pussy. Don't cry. Don't, boys don't cry. Boys don't do that. And like, that's such bullshit to me.
Well, and that's toxic in both ways.
It's toxic.
Right? Because it's toxic for men in that they don't know how to express any other emotion other than anger. So when they're sad, they act angry. When they're lonely, they act angry.
That's the output.
That's the only allowable emotion that men are allowed to express is anger. And then for women who are taught that, it's okay to cry or, to be emotional, we're expected to sort of like be these drama queens. We're then on the other side vilified by men who are like, I don't want drama. Whenever I'm dating and I see a profile that says no drama, like I don't want drama, I'm like, all that tells me about that man is that he's not emotionally capable of
handling a woman
when I am at my most vulnerable, because he's going to view my tears as drama, aka, right? And he is not connected to any place within himself that allows himself to be
vulnerable. And so what kind of woman does he want that doesn't have drama? Every woman has a moment of high and a moment of low.
Exactly.
And we go through these highs and lows.
We're just supposed to be happy.
It's like a little roller coaster.
Just optimistic and positive, and we're not too loud.
That is just so ridiculous. And who is raising you to tell you that that's okay in women?
Yeah.
Like I tell my boys all the time, like there's moments where I'm in a really great mood. There's moments where I'm in a bitchy mood and you better get out of my way. Like there's just that. Like that's honestly how it is. And girls go through that all the time.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean I don't love you. That doesn't mean I don't care for you. That doesn't mean I'm not here for you.
Yeah.
I am here for you. I'm just not in the mood to put up with shit right now.
Yeah.
And there's days that they go by and I'm like, happy, go lucky. What do you want, baby?
Yeah.
Let me spoil you.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a part of the process of being with someone.
Yeah.
This whole no drama. I don't want drama. Like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
And
have emotion.
And guess what? You're not going to get a girlfriend if that's the kind of shit that you're looking for.
Well, they will. And that's the thing, bringing back to like the alpha male thing, right? Like the men.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The whole alpha male thing.
There are women who agree with them and they will find each other. These are the same people.
They find each other.
They will find each other, right? Because they are magnetized. But these are the same people.
The positive and the negative of the magnet, boom.
But these are the same people who, when we look at them in a relationship, we're like, shit, like why are they still together? They're so toxic. Why are, you know what I mean? Like, and they do align in ideology, but they're still basing their entire relationship off of these outdated, faulty systems that don't actually work in our world anymore. You know, and I've noticed, whether this is true or just correlative, that men who have that mentality tend to be in the QAnon, incel sort of like conspiracy theory circles, and if those women who are attracted to them are also in that circle. And I'm like, okay, it's scary as fuck to think of like 70 million people in our country who believe in all of this ridiculous ass bullshit. But at the same time, it's sort of reassuring that they all will just sort of be together.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And
we don't have to,
they find each other.
They find each other.
Yeah.
But, they also propagate and like teach their children these same ridiculous ideals. So.
Yeah, but that also is a reflection of society and a reflection of education and where we are as an educated society, as an educated community, and where we send our kids and when we teach our kids. Yeah. Because these people learned it somewhere and somehow they were disenfranchised in one way or another. And so that's the outlet for them. Yeah, I think about that all the time. And I think about, like, what leads these kids. Like, I have a conversation with my boys all the time, like what they see on Facebook, on YouTube, because what they see on YouTube and TikTok is also something that I need to have a conversation with them about, because do you guys understand that a lot of this stuff is not researched? It's not backed up by facts. It's a lot of bullshit that people are just talking about, especially on Facebook. There's a lot of pages going back to Jordan Peterson that we talked about earlier, and the things that these kids can watch. It's not regulated. It's not looked at unless the parents are really paying attention to it and looking at what the kids are reading and looking at.
What's that
in terms of videos?
Like the loudest person in the room gets the most attention, or
like the most squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yeah, something like that. Because like my friend who's recently divorced and like putting himself back on the market, we had a whole conversation about like Tinder bios and what pictures to use and things like that. He's the person who had watched a couple of those Jordan Peterson videos, and to his credit, he's innocently, he got married in the early 2000s. He's been in a marriage for 15 years. He's been married the entire time that internet dating has come of age.
Girl, I wouldn't even know how to go back on the dating scene. I met my husband in 1998.
Oh yeah, exactly.
we got cell phones together. That was like the big thing.
I love that.
I had a beeper at the time.
Oh man.
What the fuck I need a beeper for? I don't know, but I had a beeper.
911. XO. Yeah, I have another friend of mine who's like, I hope he never leaves me, because what would I do with myself? They listen to my dating stories and they're like, oh my God.
No, I couldn't date anymore, Victoria. I couldn't, because I don't think I want to. I don't think I even want to do that.
A friend of mine another friend who's recently divorced, COVID, RIP COVID. I was telling her, she was like, what's the dating scene like? And I said, have you ever seen What Dreams May Come? Have you ever seen that?
No.
With Robin Williams? Well, basically it's about Robin Williams, who goes into the afterlife to track down his wife who committed suicide after their children were killed in a car accident.
Okay.
It was an amazingly beautiful movie.
I need to see it. It sounds interesting.
Robin Williams, phenomenal.
He's such a good actor.
So he's in the underworld and he's going to find his wife who is in the depths of the underworld, and he is walking through this field of people who have ostensibly died horrible deaths, right? And he's walking over, like, it's just an entire floor full of faces and hands like reaching up at him, and it's just terrifying. And I'm like, that's what dating is like right now. Like, you're walking into this sea of people, and they're all terrifying, and they're all grabbing at you, and you have no idea. You're searching for like your soulmate in this sea of like horrid trash. And that's what dating is like right now, because on online dating, it's like profile after profile after profile, and all you have to go on is, do they take pictures well enough to look semi-attractive online? And does their profile have like the 5 words that you might consider as a part of something that you would want to date? Because you're talking about like a 3 or 4 sentence bio and maybe 5 pictures, that at least one of them has been taken in a mirror and at least 2 of them have been taken out of focus by a friend. You know what I mean? And you're like, and then you're going on dates.
Oh my God.
Trying to find like one human being that doesn't completely suck, and dating is horrible. And I feel for everybody who's in the dating scene. I myself have been in there. And so my friend who's recently divorced, we're talking, and he's watching these Jordan Peterson videos, and I'm like, stop. He just, in his mind, he just wants to learn, like, what do women want now? How do I show up in the world as my best self? How do I present myself? What am I trying to attract? And he's been married for 15 years. He's been with one woman almost his entire adult life. He maybe dated one girl in high school, and then he met his wife, and then he got married. And so now he's like, I don't even know.
Girl, we wouldn't know. We wouldn't know what the hell to do. That's why I'm so protective. Girl.
She's got tactics, man. She's out in the field.
I told Rusk, I said, she can't even sit on that fucking chair because her ass is so big. I was being so terrible. It was so terrible. But I was just being so like protective of him. No, but I told him, I'm like, I do tell him all the time, I'm like, you have a 10. You go out in the world, you're not going to get the 10 anymore. You've got the 10 already at home. And I tell that to him, and not in the sense that I'm like, I'm the best bitch ever. And I'm like the fullest thing, but to tell him in a way, like, it's already good.
Yeah.
It's already great. Yeah. Because we know so many guys that step out in their marriage and they do, and they think the grass is greener.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's cool. That's fine. But I'm not coming back. Yeah. You know me.
Yeah.
There's no way you're getting me back. And I'm going to go with my mom. I'm going to go with my sister. I'm going to go with my brother. I've got people I can go to. And he goes, yeah, that's scary because you do have people. I have nobody.
Oh,
it's just him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just saying.
Well, and
you have a 10 at home.
Good point. I told my friend before he got divorced, when they were going through it, I was trying to convince him to like do more therapy and get, try harder because I've seen their relationship at its best. I know what it could be. I was very sad to see them split up, but I was like, you don't know what it's like out here. Mm-hmm. Christy's amazing. Mm-hmm. Like, you have a 10.
Yeah. Work on that.
You're in your 30s. Mm-hmm. You've got like a dad bod. Mm-hmm. Also, all the women out here have kids. And you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to date in your 30s and beyond because you all come with this sort of like relationship trauma. And
a lot of baggage,
also
right?
Children and also other things. And I think it's really nice if you can find somebody who's done the work on themselves, who knows about themselves.
How many people have that?
None.
Victoria.
0. It's so fucking hard to find, especially men who have done enough work to be like, okay, this is my shit. Mm-hmm. I own it. I'm working on it. I'll try not to put it on you, but just so you know, this is it. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, you're like, I'm trying to heal all my stuff so that I don't put it on you. Like one of my things in relationships now is I try to recognize, like, is this a trigger? How do I feel about it? How am I going to process it? And how am I going to bring it to you? Like, if he triggers me, I'm going to go to him and say, this is how I feel, and this is what I need, and this is how we can move forward. But I'm not going to say, you did this, and you made me feel like this, and I need you to make sure that you never do this again. Because immediately he's going to get defensive and be like, I didn't do that. That's not what I meant. That's not what I said, right? And so it's hard. It's hard to find people who either A, are like a secure type of person who don't have that kind of drama and bullshit or whatever it is, not drama, but the baggage of life.
Life, pretty much.
And then who can also sort of meet you in that space. Really
because I think at this point, a lot of women are meeting men who have been divorced, who have kids. And so I think a lot of times they're comparing their ex-wife to the new wife.
Yeah.
I would figure that. And I think that's the trauma I'm trying to instill in my husband right now. Like, okay, you leave me.
Yeah.
You're going to compare me to everybody. Yeah. And they're not going to match up, honey. Nope. I tell him that all the time. Well, I'm like such a bitch to him. Like, don't you even dare.
People overcorrect, right?
Oh, really?
They overcorrect. Like, I've done this.
That's another point.
And you're like, I never want to be with somebody like that ever again.
Yeah.
And so they find the complete opposite of that.
Yeah.
But that comes with its own like set of issues and bullshit. Yeah. One of the things that I learned in therapy when me and my ex were in couples therapy was that you have a certain set of, like, there's always going to be things that are unresolvable problems in your relationship, right? Yeah. They're always late to things, or they never put the toilet seat down, or whatever it is. It's never going to change. It's just a thing that's always going to be a part of your relationship. When you leave one relationship for another, you're leaving a set of intolerable problems for another set of intolerable problems.
Oh my gosh.
And so you might be really annoyed that your partner is always late all the time.
Yeah.
But now you have a partner who never fucking calls.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. And that's worse. Like, you could deal with the person who was late, but you can't deal with the person
who never calls.
Whatever, right? And so I feel like I should be a relationship counselor.
You need to do like coaching, like forget photography. I need you to do dating advice.
I could do it. I can tell you. I've definitely done. I've had enough experience.
Oh, I love that.
But I'm like, do you want to like let this set of problems go for something unknown? And not that you should never stay in an unfulfilling relationship or a toxic relationship or an abusive relationship. None of that. But if you have something good, work on that, build that, create, I think that because of
nurture it.
Culture, you talked about this on the podcast that you did with Russ about dating and our marriage and business.
Yes.
That I listen to. I think that because we have such a plethora of options these days, it's really easy for people to like dismiss really quality relationships because of very small things. And MBTI is one of those things that I had to watch out for because I love MBTI and I love what it's afforded me in terms of knowing myself and knowing others. But for a very long period of time in my dating life, I was putting people into boxes and I was not giving people an opportunity to show me who they really were because I was saying, oh, well, you're this type and that's not compatible with me. And so I'm not even going to give you a chance.
And there's flexibility.
Exactly. And there
you have to, there should be. Yeah.
And so I sort of like caught myself in that and I stopped doing that. And then I met my boyfriend. And by all accounts, we're not super compatible on paper. But the truth is nurture versus nature.
Yes.
In my nature, if I had grown up with the most complete nurture on the planet, I was the most evolved version of myself, maybe him and I wouldn't work. But the truth is my nurture informs a lot of who I am, my trauma, my past experiences. And this is a man who does not trigger my fucking trauma. And maybe we're not the most like ideal, quote unquote, personality type in the world. But if I hadn't given him a chance, I wouldn't be able to experience a relationship that makes me feel so comfortable and so safe. And at the end of the day, isn't that what we all want? To be in a relationship where we feel like when I'm with him, I feel like a calmer version of myself.
And that's how it should be. Right? And relationships should not be difficult and they shouldn't be stressful and they shouldn't be hard and you shouldn't be stressed so hard. No. Like I see relationships sometimes and I'm like, oh my gosh, how do you guys even function every day? Because they're fighting all the time. They don't get along. They don't like each other. That's not a relationship. Relationships are easy. They should be easy. They should not be hard.
They should help you grow.
Like,
I want to be the best version of myself and I want to help my partner be the best version of himself. And I want us to grow together as a team and be the best versions of ourselves together.
Exactly.
That's my goal for my relationship.
No, Victoria, I think you're right on the money. I think that what you've come to understand in analysis, in retrospection, learning yourself, it really is. There's flexibility in it. And I remember before I even started dating my husband, I didn't want to date him because he wasn't my culture. He was completely different. And my dad was like, you cannot be with somebody who's your culture because you don't even fit your own fucking culture. You need somebody who's outside of it. Like, stop the nonsense. And I'm glad because, value systems were similar. And so that as long as the value systems were there, that's all that mattered. Because honestly, at the end of the day, you go back to values and you go back to the integrity. Do you value this? Do you value that? Is there integrity in your relationship? Yeah, there's integrity. Fabulous and classy are raging at the moment. Do you need a touch-up? Does your closet need an update? Or are you feeling a bit out of touch with the decades trends? Just shoot me a DM at think_chick and we'll plan out the perfect fashion strategy for you. Is there like love? Yeah, there's respect. Yeah, there's da-da-da-da-da. We were both raised by immigrant parents, so our life was very much the same, even though
the culture was different.
The culture was different.
Yeah.
But he saw life the same way I saw it.
Wow.
And we saw things in the same perspective, in the same way, even though he came from a completely different. And honestly, nowadays, our parents wouldn't be in a room together because they couldn't communicate. My parents don't speak English very well. His parents don't speak Spanish. They don't speak. They speak English. My parents speak English. I mean, it would be like a second language English going on, that sort of thing. But sometimes we're so stuck on what we think it should be, and we have this perception like he has to check off this stuff, and I hear that from friends.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, can you hook me up with someone? Like, I'm looking for somebody that's got da. And I'm like, oh God, I don't know if I'm ever going to find that guy for you.
You know what that is? Because I experienced that. Like, I went from being a super free-spirited, open-hearted person, let my heart lead wherever it's going to go, accept people for who they are. That got me into a lot of trouble because I wasn't really qualifying anybody that I was dating. It was just like letting my emotions lead the way, which was a little bit dangerous, to completely the other end of the spectrum, to being like so rigid in this list of things that I wanted that I wasn't giving anybody a chance. One thing wasn't on the list, and then I would completely
throw them away.
And what that is a protective measure. Women have been so hurt and so heartbroken and let down and all of these things that we think that if we create this list, then our perfect man will fit all of these things on the list. And if they don't, well, then we don't have to even worry about that, right? And really all it's doing is it's meant to protect us from being hurt, but it's really keeping us stuck, and it's keeping us from being vulnerable with somebody. Because at the end of the day, what I realized is like, I'm over here with this fucking long ass list myself. Yeah. It's got to be all of these things. This is what I want in the relationship, but what about what the other person wants? What happens when you find somebody and they need all this thing on this list, but they're going to like boot you to the side because you don't have one thing that they want?
Exactly.
How does that make you feel?
I don't understand how they don't see it from the other point of view as well, like from his side of the coin.
Yeah.
They always see it from their side of the coin. When I get the list from my girlfriends and they're like, hey, if you find a guy that's got this, I look at it, I'm like, there's never going to be that person because they don't exist.
Yeah.
You're looking for someone that's super perfect and so not human, superhuman sometimes. Like money, they've got to make like a 6-figure. They've got to be tall. Huh?
I said, well, wouldn't that be nice?
Tall, likes to travel, likes, dresses well. Girlfriend, who are you looking for? Because this is really like another list that I just don't understand where this man is.
And he's married, and he has a small penis.
See? Like, and then like, what is the other thing requirement that I get from these girls? Oh, family oriented.
Wouldn't you be lucky to meet a great guy with a great family? Listen, like most of us come from trauma.
Oh, no kids.
Oh, okay.
Not previously married.
Okay.
Ya los 40, 50 años, girl. No. Yeah, I'm like 45.
I'd be worried if I met a 45-year-old man who'd never been married. Like, I'd be worried.
Hold on, let me go through the checklist that I get. Okay, so not married, tall, dark, handsome, 6 figures, has a stable job, likes to travel. Oh, likes to wine and dine.
Oh.
Girl, I could go through the list that I get every fucking time. And they're like, do you know anybody? I'm like, no, I don't know anybody like that. I don't fucking know anybody like that.
They're just sitting on my
like, where are you? I don't get this checklist.
It's a protective measure. I will say though that don't settle for less than you deserve, but know what it means to deserve somebody who's quality. For me, I have 3 main things that are extremely important to me in a relationship. Everything else is negotiable. I need emotional safety. I need somebody who I can be vulnerable with, who will hold space for me and not minimize my feelings. I need psychological safety, somebody who's not going to play games, lie, cheat, denigrate me, gaslight me, make me feel crazy, call me crazy. And I need physical safety, somebody who, even at his worst, is not going to punch walls or like be physical with me or throw things or be crazy. Those are the 3 main things that are super important to me. And there are other things that I really value, but I don't know if there's much that's more important than that. Like, it's really important for me to have an intellectual compatibility with people in my life. But barring that, I need to know I can have a conversation with them. Does it always need to be intellectual? No, but I need to know that we can communicate. And for me, emotional safety trumps that. Yes. Because we may not be able to always have these in-depth philosophical, theoretical conversations, when I'm having a really shitty day and I'm in my feelings, can I come to you and will you be there for me?
Yes.
That happens. Like, I love to have an intellectual conversation, but I have tons of friends who I can have that with. I don't have a lot of people who I can be my most raw emotional
Your
self
most vulnerable
with, right?
self.
And I think that a lot of women have like this checklist of things that really would be nice to have, but they don't think about emotional safety. Okay, he makes 6 figures and he's 6'2", and
he's not around,
and he's handsome and all these things, and he drives a nice car and you live in a great house and all this stuff. But what does he do when you have a meltdown? Is he there for you?
Does he check out?
Does he check out? Yeah, can he handle you at your worst? Is he available for you emotionally? Does he allow himself to be emotionally vulnerable? Because he can have a fucking great ass job and make $1 million a year and have all of this fucking shit. But if he can't meet you in those spaces, if he's not physically affectionate, or if he's dismissive of your goals and your dreams, you know, like, okay, well, what's really more important? I don't actually give a shit how much my person makes. I want to know that they have a job that allows them to make a, you know, like a living, that they have a career, goals and dreams. They're always working to improve themselves, because I have definitely chosen partners before based on their job or their ability to like provide, quote unquote. And I have found myself in some really shitty situations where I was beholden to the person that I was with because I was financially like under their thumb, so to speak. But my relationship was trash. They were providing for me, but they also had expectations of what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and then you don't.
So they could.
And then you don't feel fulfilled because you are beholden to somebody.
Yeah. And you know, financially.
But I think it's interesting, the women, maybe this is like a different topic, but I don't know. The women who have been divorced or who are divorced or who have been in a long-term relationship and they're looking for somebody now, their expectations are very different from girls who have never been married, who are looking for somebody for the first time to marry and be with somebody and have a life with.
Yeah.
I think it's a completely different ballgame.
Yeah, I do too.
And I see it from the outside looking in, from the friends that come to me and tell me, this is what I want, this is what I'm looking for. You know, if you know somebody or you're in the circles, hook me up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Your expectations are crazy. But I won't say it to them.
Yeah.
Even though I'm thinking it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that is where.
Maybe you should say it though. Like my friend, during all of this, my dating sort of situation, and also because I'm a big proponent of MBTI, this was a huge metric for me in dating and meeting people and typing them or whatever. I had a friend of mine, my best friend, bless her heart. She told me, she's like, you're self-sabotaging. You are self-sabotaging. You are so fixated on these things that you're not giving anybody a chance. And so I tell her all my stuff, you know, I went on a date with this guy and this guy and this guy, you know, whatever. And she would really like hone in on somebody who she thought, based off what I told them, was like a good match. He sounds like a great guy. He sounds like he's got friends. He sounds like he's got these things that I know. Like she knows me almost better than I know myself because she's looking at me from the outside, right? And so she told me, like, you're self-sabotaging. Like, you are really doing yourself a disservice by being so stuck on these metrics. And I said the same thing to her. Like, I just don't want to get hurt again. I know that if I'm with somebody who doesn't have this, and this, I'm going to be bored, or I'm going to be uninterested, or we're going to have conflict, or whatever it is. And she goes, okay, maybe that's true, but you don't even know that any of that is there yet. You've not even been in a conflict with this
You don't
person,
even know that
so
that's even going to
react.
exist.
And you're really, and I did, like, there were a couple of guys who I know, like, there may have been something there that I was just totally like, nah, not going to work based off one or two things. And it was tough. That brought me back to my relationship now with my boyfriend. Like, he was somebody who I thought in the very beginning was not going to work out because of this one thing that I was really fixated on that I thought that I needed. But in giving him an opportunity, we dated for like 3 months before we actually moved forward in our relationship. And during that time, what he offered me was stability and consistency. Like he was the same from day one as he was on day 60. You know what I mean?
And that is such an undervalued quality.
It is. So
I mean, to me, that is like the most valuable thing.
And a lot of women will like, oh, well, he's too nice, or he's boring, or he's like, I don't feel fireworks, and I'm not feeling like the chemistry and all.
But sometimes you don't feel that at the beginning. You have to get to know them a little bit more to feel those fireworks.
And I didn't really feel that with him. I did, like, I was like, oh, well, okay, maybe I don't know if I could see myself with this guy. But he was so consistent, and he would send me little messages, and he was funny, and he liked the same things I liked. And he was really, so like, all of these things that I was like, why am I not giving him a chance? Why? Because I think he's not the right MBTI type, like he's not the right personality type, or because we're not having like these in-depth, like philosophical conversations.
Like fireworks.
Right. And I'm, to the point where it was like, okay, like this is really becoming a problem. Like I had to see myself. Like my friend told me that I was self-sabotaging. I didn't really want to believe it, but it was true because I was putting myself in these boxes of this list that I wanted. And here's this guy who showed up with all of these things, but I didn't feel the chemistry or whatever, And I was really willing to like just let him go. I even dated somebody in the midst of dating him that I thought that was the guy, right? And he was like the right type.
And why didn't that not work out?
So one of the things I was really focused on in this, time of my life was not having sexual like relationships with men unless we were in a committed, exclusive relationship, right? I am I have definitely been on the other side of that spectrum. I'm all about like getting yours, like totally not.
Yeah, adventurous.
Right. But for me, I knew that having sex with the men that I was dating created an emotional bond for me that I didn't want to happen until I knew who that person was.
Gotcha.
And because I really wanted a serious relationship, it was important for me to build a friendship first. And so I met him and we went out on a couple of dates and was sort of like, man, I don't know how we're really going to go. And then I met this guy who checked a lot of the boxes and he was the right MBTI type and things were like super amazing with him. And I told him like, I don't want to move forward physically because I really want to get to know you. And he was like totally about that, right? Like I totally
he was okay.
Yes, he was okay. He introduced me to his friends. He took me on this amazing date. We went kayaking. We spent the day on the river and his friend. And he's like treating me like a girlfriend. Like I'm noticing in all of his behavior and all of his actions. Like he's really into me. And he's showing me all of this like affection to where I'm like, could this be the guy? Like maybe this is the guy. Like all the bells, right, are firing, all the chemistry, all of the fireworks. Well, that night, I forwent my previous decision to not have sex early in the relationship because we were just, oh my God, he's just so amazing. He's the guy, right?
Everything.
So we have sex. And it was amazing. Oh my God. It was so amazing. I was just like, fuck. And he's great in bed. This is it. This is it. Yes. Yeah. So have a great night. Says goodbye. I spend the night, leaving the next morning. It was great. I saw him, and then all of a sudden he was like 180, like his whole personality sort of changed, like his whole, like he stopped being as responsive to text messages.
What the hell happened?
That's what I said. I don't know what happened.
You didn't ever ask him?
Well, when in the beginning he was trying to convince me that him and I were really good together. And while I'm trying to take things slow, he's convincing me that there's no need to take things slow. We're amazing, right? And so then when I finally give in and I say, okay, we're amazing, and I go and we have sex together and whatever, and now I'm like, oh, all my emotions are invested in my
You're in it. You're in it.
And I'm like, now I'm like super excited. He pulls a blanket out from under me.
What did he say?
He said, when I finally, because I called him on it, because it was like maybe 3 or 4 days after we had slept together, and I'm getting like this totally different human being on the other side. Like I can tell, like I've dated enough to know what ghosting feels like, you know what I mean? Like, and so I text him and I'm like, what is really going on? Because I don't feel like you're giving me the same amount of energy that you were previously, and I'm starting to feel this disconnect from you, and I need to know, like, is it me and my anxiety, or is something actually going on? Like, either reassure me and tell me I'm crazy and I'll back off, or tell me that you don't feel the same way and I will fucking, like, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Right? It takes a long ass time to respond to my text message, right? Like hours of just living in this sort of like, okay, great. And then he finally says, I just don't think that I can give you the kind of relationship that you deserve.
What?
Yeah. And I was like, well, isn't that fucking convenient? Because you were the one convincing me that this was the relationship.
That this is what was going to happen. Yes.
So I was...
Oh my God.
I was irate. And it was so hard because I really was like trying to be vulnerable and give this guy a chance, and he fit all the boxes, and I thought he was the guy and all this shit, and it was just totally like fucked me over. And so I was like, all right, because I thought I have way better discernment than that. I'm never going to get played. I'm never going to get ghosted because I know better. I can see all the signs.
But see, you tried not to go there, and then when you finally did, it fucking happened.
Exactly. Which, so I was pissed. And then like a week later, so I'm, like, okay, fine, this guy's an asshole. And a week later, he texts me in the morning, and I'm like, maybe he's had a change of heart. Maybe he's, maybe he misses me. And in my mind, I'm like, fuck him. He doesn't deserve me, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But in reality, I'm like, hey, what's up? Like responding to his text message, right? And he's like, what are you doing today? And here I am, Bindeha. Oh, he must want to see me because he wants to rekindle, or maybe he's come to senses.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nothing. Why? And he goes, do you want to come over and have some really hard sex? And I was like, are you fucking
oh my God.
And I was pissed. I was like, is that all you think of me? You're fucking trash. And I was so fucking pissed because I was like, not only did he completely fuck me over the first time, but now he's totally disrespecting me. And this was the thing that sort of like nailed the coffin shut on the personality typing and the self-sabotage, where I was like, okay, my friend is right, because he was an INFJ. He was supposed to be like my most compatible type, and he ended up doing all of this shit and totally fucking me over. And I was like, you know what? It doesn't fucking matter what type anybody
Victoria,
is.
how did you find out his type? You gave him a test?
No, he knew. He was into MBTI.
Oh, he was? And so that was attractive.
So when he found out that I was his personality type, that's when he started ramping everything up, and he's feeding me all of the same, like feeding
both of you were like, oh my God.
But after we had sex, for whatever reason, I don't know, because I thought it was amazing, but he door slammed me. It was the INFJ door slam. He was like, no, you're not the one, whatever. So I was like, fine, whatever, dude. Fuck you. But in all of that, it sort of informed, like, yes, I am self-sabotaging because I have so much fixation on this list that I'm not even paying attention to the red flags.
To the real things, yeah.
And then also, P.S., here's this great fucking guy who's been there from the very beginning, consistent and calm and funny and thoughtful and sweet and kind and low-key and chill, like all of these things that I'm over here like, we don't have fireworks, blah, 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 na. And I'm like, this is the guy. Like, this is the fucking guy. And then sometimes
you realize that the fireworks are not everything.
No, because also they're going to go away.
They're going to go away. And the consistency and the stability just overtakes everything. I used to be the kind of girl that would go out dancing every weekend. Yeah. And I was out Thursday through Sunday dancing from the age of 17 till 22, 23. I was out dancing all the time. And when I met my husband or my boyfriend at the time, he didn't dance at all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've had that on my list too.
Ooh, I can't date somebody that doesn't do this. Like, I need a dancer. I need somebody who's out and dances with me all the time.
Yeah.
But what I realized was that the guys that I was going out with, the ones that were dancers, were insecure, controlling, full of themselves, didn't know how to do jack shit, like losers. And then I'm like, why the fuck am I holding on to this mentality of me being a partier, being like a happy, I'm out dancing all the time? I stopped. I stopped. And I embraced a different personality for me and a different lifestyle that just suit me better for my age later on. I'm like, fuck it. I danced. I had a good time. That's over. That's done. that wasn't important anymore.
That was huge. That's huge.
That's a big move. That was a big moment for me to be like, I don't have to have that all the time anymore. Like, that's not who I am anymore at this age. Like, at the point where I was in graduate school.
Yeah.
Is that the girl that I want to be now, or this is the girl that I'm fulfilling now at this point?
Yeah.
I was a different point.
Yeah. I think that's something I had to come around to, because for me it was like the intellectualism. That's what I've been hanging on to this whole time, is somebody who could meet me intellectually. And I realized where that came from. Like, I had to do a lot of soul searching and kind of see like what that was about for me and where it came from, and sort of like rectify that. And sort of come to terms with like, maybe that's not something, as much as I would like that in my relationship, maybe it's not something I need in my romantic relationship. I have lots of friends who meet me there. I have lots of outlets for that on my own. If I'm not having those kinds of interactions in my personal relationship, like maybe it's a little bit of a bummer, right?
But Victoria, it's something that could come later as well.
Exactly.
It's not something that has to be there immediately.
Exactly. But like the dancing thing, I had to sort of think like, okay, well, what is this about?
Yes.
Why is it that this is so
important to you? Yeah.
And why am I hinging all of my interactions on
with
this one thing? Because the more intellectual the person that I would meet, the less emotionally available they were. And that was its own struggle. And I realized, like, for me, like, I really want an emotional, like, available person. And that's more important to me than this high intellectualism. But I think what it was for me is like going back to when I had to like go all the way back to my childhood, and, you know, my parents never understood me. I was picked on a lot as a kid. Even my ex-husband would like poke and pick at me all the time. And I always felt like this really like strong need to prove myself as being intelligent and being smart and being intellectual and having like these lofty ideas or whatever. And so being in a relationship with somebody who didn't have that made me feel like, well, I'm going to be seen as stupid, or they're going to think
inferior in some way.
They're not going to get me. They're not going to understand where I'm coming from and all of this stuff. And I just don't think that's the case. Like, I think, you know, maybe my boyfriend isn't as like super intellectual as I am in terms of like theoretics, but he's so fucking smart and he's so fucking talented, and there's not a whole lot that we can't talk about. And if I want to go like deep into some theoretical, existential, philosophical like bent, I have people for that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And those people don't necessarily need to also hug me when I'm sad.
And guess what? Your husband or your boyfriend doesn't have to fulfill all of those things. Like, I love to dance and I love to party.
Yeah.
He doesn't. But when I go to my mom's house or my sister's house, I let loose.
Nice.
I drink, I dance, I have a blast.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I know he's there to pick me up, lift me up in the car. If I'm too fucking drunk to fucking walk, he will lift me up and he will put me in the car, and I will be home and I will be in bed. Yeah. And I don't need that from him anymore. Like, I don't have that in my head. Like, I need somebody who dances and loves to party and like drinks like I drink, like goes balls to the wall like I am, you know? Like, he doesn't have to be that person. But guess what? At the end of the night, he lifts me up, he picks me up, and he brings me to bed, and he will take care of me. Yeah. And he knows that about me. He knows that I'm at my sister's house. I'm going to have a blast, and I'm going to dance the night away, and I'm going to drink until I can't fucking drink anymore. And he just like puts me in bed. Yeah. But at the beginning, Victoria, I was like, oh, but he doesn't like to do this. He doesn't like to do that. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. Like, he doesn't go dancing. He doesn't go to clubs. He doesn't drink like I drink. Like, he did. Yeah. At the end of the day, you're like, those things are really not even important. Yeah. Like, can he be there for you when you need him to be there? Yeah, he's there. Yeah. He's there. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. That's exactly what I need. I need somebody who's going to accept me for who I am. Yeah. And the crazy girl that I am, and the dancer girl that I am, and just be on the sideline. Doesn't have to tell me, hey, that's not very ladylike. No, he's never going to say that to me, because he knows that I'm going to dance and I'm going to have a fucking blast if I want to. And nobody's going to stop me.
I love that. You know, my best friend told me in all of this, it kind of like goes back to things. She goes, you need a man who is okay with you having the spotlight.
Yes.
Instead of a man who also wants the spotlight, who feels like he has to compete with you for the spotlight, you need to be with somebody who's okay, letting you shine while he's there, like, waiting for you and allowing you to have a good time. And I think that, like, for you, that's
exactly who he is,
right? Like, he knows that you're a Leo, you need to shine, you need the attention, or you want it, or whatever it is, and he's like, cool, you do that, and I'm going to be here to, like, hold it down for you when you're ready to come down. And I didn't value that before, but it's definitely something that I value now. Yes. Of, like, you know, in the past, I've had a really hard time being taken care of, like, physically or emotionally. Like, I don't tell a lot of people when I'm having bad times because I've not in the past been well taken care of. You know, I'm always, don't cry and you know, power through and endure, and all those kind of things were always part of my upbringing. I had a really bad neck injury over the past couple of weeks. Like, some really crazy stress came out in my body.
Yeah, I remember that.
Point, where I can't even move. I can't even. And I talked to my boyfriend. He's like, "Hey, what's up? How are you doing today?" I was like, "Oh man, this pain. I just have this really crazy pain in my neck, and I'm just not feeling well today." And I just passively, like, I didn't tell him how bad it really was. I wasn't like, I really need you. I didn't say anything really, just like an update of what was going on with me, but I almost couldn't, I didn't even ask for help, because what is he going to do? Right in my mind, I'm like, what is he going to do? He showed up an hour later with, like, a hot compress and like a salt bath for me to relax in. And then the other night he came over with, like, a massager and, like, massage oil and was like, "You want me to rub you?" And I never asked, and I never experienced that in my whole life. Like, in any relationship I've ever been in, I've never experienced what it felt like to be taken care of at that level, that I almost felt guilty. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't
because it just feels too good to be true.
It does. And I'm like, this is what I really needed without knowing that that's what I needed. And if I had been holding out for, like, this other thing that I thought was so important to me, I never would have gotten this guy who, without asking, was, like, coming to take care of me and show me how much he cared and was, like,
and girl, let me tell you, every woman feels that. Yeah. I mean, I will be, like, crying, like, "I don't deserve this. Why are you here?" And he's like, "Because I love you. Yeah. Because I want to be here for you." I'm like, "No, but I don't deserve it. I need you to leave me hanging, leave me out there." It's like, I would never leave you hanging. But isn't it crazy how we don't see those things as, like, we're worthy of it. Like, why don't we deserve it? Yeah. It's nutty. It's crazy. But I feel like we went into, like, dating tangents.
I'm so glad. I have content that your producer has to go through.
She's going to have to go through. She's going to do,
like, 3 more episodes.
She's going to be working so hard. She's going to work so hard. Poor girl. No. But I think, like, we really got into, like, the personality types, and then we went into dating, and then all kinds of things. But I need to test him. I need to see where his test is. I need to send it to you.
I'm so excited to learn his personality type.
I want to know too, because I want to know how he's a philosophy major. Yeah. He's an economics and philosophy major. Isn't that crazy?
And I love economics. Like, a lot of people.
Oh, you do?
I'm a super, like, crazy economics.
He could talk economics and money with people all day, every day.
And I knew he was a philosophy major.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that he was an economics major, but that's one of my, like, if I could go back to school, I'd go back to school for philosophy, psychology, and economics. Because it's all human behavior.
Yeah.
All of that is economics is human behavior.
Yeah. Oh, girl. I think
he's an ENFP. I don't know, but you'll have to tell me.
ENFP? Yeah. That would be you.
Yeah. I know. I'm like, he's my type.
Hey, I'm very jealous. Cut it out right now. Cut that shit out.
ENFPs. We're two
girls. Stop. Yeah, no, I need to find out what he is, because I love it. So thank you so much for being here today, Victoria. I think we had a great talk. There's a lot of really good info in here for everybody out there in the dating world, out there in the business world, being women out there. Follow us, give us some feedback. Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you.